Hello, my name is Panayota Ra. I'm really grateful for this wonderful opportunity to share with you today a logotherapeutic technique that I find so incredibly helpful. It's called Logotherapy Dream Interpretation. I'd like to apologize in advance for a bit of speech problems. I have a bit of a problem with my brain connecting to my speech due to lack of confidence, and whatever happens, I'm going to do my best to share with you what I'm so passionate about, and I do hope you will enjoy it. Dreams can reflect hopes and wishes from the unconscious, not only repressed aggression and lust, but calls from the conscious towards meaningful behavior, advice from the unconscious to the conscious. So it's my understanding that the spiritual dimension of the human being is very much connected to the goings-on of the unconscious and conscious, and that these human dimensions of consciousness are able to work together for our ultimate good. And that is why it's so important that we have an awakening to the great potential within ourselves, in our wholeness as spiritual beings, more than just body and mind. It does not matter that we experience, what we experienced in our past or present lives, as much as it matters who we are in our uniqueness right now, in this very moment in time, and what we're doing right now, what choices we are making, and what attitudes we are adopting to our current immediate situation in time and space. Frankl has an expanded concept of the unconscious. He asserts that it contains also repressed hopes, goals, and meanings to which dreams are royal roads. And here's an example of a dream that I had from when I was very young, right through to my 50s. And once we had, in therapy, worked out what the meaning of the dream was, I never dreamt that dream again. It was incredible. So, in this dream, I was being chased by the enemy. I was always running, frantically trying to escape them. But then suddenly, in the dream, I was flying. Still trying to get away because they were still chasing me, but I was flying above them. In a logotherapy dream interpretation, what might the logotherapist ask their client about this dream? Perhaps she would ask, or he would ask, why are you running? Do you know what or whom you're running from? What are your feelings while still running on the ground? The therapist would want to establish just how much fear exists over whatever their client has for so long been running from. And as this dream was repeating itself over the years, the true answers will inevitably emanate from experience that occurred in their past, even if they don't realize it yet. I do not believe that dreams are fortune-telling at all. They are definitely not fortune-telling. The interpretation of dreams cannot be generalized. Each dream, no matter how similar or it might be to another person's dream, belongs uniquely to the dreamer of their own dream. No two dreamers could ever possibly dream the exact same dream in every detail for the exact same reason. My dream had been repeating itself over and over for years. Why? What logical, unique, to me, and my situation only, real messages had it been trying to so hard to bring to my consciousness from my spiritual dimension and subconscious levels. There is a saying that goes that life will keep repeating itself until we finally get the message, and it is so true. A logotherapist might need to prompt their client to discover the meaning message of their dream. She might ask about the flying. How are they feeling while they're up there? Are they feeling safer? If they are still not feeling safe, why not? The therapist could go on and ask, can the people chasing you catch you while you are flying? Does this mean that the dream could be telling you that you have some power over your situation and fears? Is life expecting more from you than to always be running from your fears? The therapist is acknowledging that the client's fears are real, but also helping them to see deeper into their own wisdom, logic, strengths, and abilities. She is helping them to activate the awakening of the messages of their spiritual dimension to find their unique answers, which are coming to them through their dreams, as personal revelation. She might ask, What can you see from up there? For me, it was the beautiful sunrise in the distance. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl spoke about the prisoners who had less chance of survival. He said, the prisoner who had lost his faith in the future, his future was doomed. With his loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and became subject to mental and physical decay. What was really needed was a fundamental change in our attitude towards life. We had to learn ourselves, and furthermore, we had to teach the despairing men that it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. And this is where the fundamental shift in our client's therapy session is hopefully going to happen. The client has for so long been expecting their fears to catch up with them and eat them alive. And so they tend to remain in a victimized state, constantly running to escape their fears. But the fact that they can fly in their dream means that life is expecting something more from them than for them to just stay in the same level as their fears, or to keep looking back on their fears and allowing their destructive power to continue to destroy their potential. The therapist could then ask the client, what could the meaning message about the flying away from your fears towards the sunrise on the horizon be for you? Could the dream be telling the client to keep moving forward towards the light of that beautiful sunrise in the distance, towards some future goal that is waiting for them? Is life calling the client in this way? It seems that maybe there is something meaningful waiting for them to be uniquely part of. The therapist could ask, what do you think would happen if you no longer focused on your fears, the people chasing you in your dream, and looked instead towards the horizon? Do you see the promise of the sunshine that is rising up over there? What would you hope to discover or do when you reach that place? What and where do you think life is calling you to fly to? What do you think is the true destination of your life? Is there something you might already feel that you are meant to be doing, that you were born to do? So, can you see how the therapist is then helping the client to become more positively future-orientated and meaning-orientated? So here's an idea of a dream that a client might have, of frantically trying to tidy up, trying to clean up a mess, piled under a whole lot of rubbish, suffocating it, just unable to get rid of it and trying so hard to. Could the dream be pointing towards the client struggling with trying to protect a reputation, either their own reputation, their child's reputation, someone they love? Are they overwhelmed by rubbish that's going on in their life and just don't know how to deal with it? Are they suffering from shame or guilt, or perhaps hiding a secret under all that rubbish? And they want to try, and they need somebody to talk to about the secret because it's become too burdensome for them to keep, perhaps. So here's two more dreams that are examples. Feeling exposed, using a toilet in a public place, no doors or walls, everyone can see them. Something has caused the client to feel exposed, as if everyone can see what they've done or what they're up to, or knows too much of their business, their personal business. So that could be just the kind of dream that a person has, but the therapist would now need to work with the client to try and work out what has caused them to feel so exposed. And the dream must hold a meaning message. So if you went deeper into the dream, looked around from the client's perspective, may be able to help the client to find out what the meaning message of their dream is. Here's another dream that I found very interesting, and that was Patty and John Travolta. Patty was somebody that I knew on Facebook. I didn't actually know her, but she was connected to somebody that I knew on Facebook, and she had friended me, and she saw that I was writing about dream interpretation and wanted to share a dream of hers. She just wrote it one day, and there it was. Just a few lines, but such a little dream, such an interesting outcome once we had interpreted it. Patty is the name of my blog is Patty, so don't get mixed up. This is another Patty altogether. Patty wrote, "Oh, speaking of dreams, here's one for you. Me and John Travolta in an old beat-up convertible drive off a huge cliff, land nose first, nose and car, and I guess our noses too for that matter, right into the ground. But we don't die. Where the heck this dream came from, I have no idea. Why John Travolta? No flipping idea. I enjoy some of his movies, but not really a huge fan. How weird am I?" And so I responded to her. The first ideas that come to my mind are you afraid of your reputation taking a nosedive for some reason? Has someone threatened or attacked your reputation? Are you in any way feeling like your life is crashing and you need to make a change? Still, being alive could mean that you are aware that things can change. These are the kinds of ideas you can come up with for why you would have dreamed the dream that you did. Why the famous person? That makes me think of your fame, your position in the home, community, church, and so on. The way you feel about yourself, your position. Not famous necessarily, but maybe a specific reputation threatened. Crashing. Taking a leap of faith, perhaps. But the fact that neither you or John Travolta die in your dream points to your noetic or spiritual dimension. Your higher conscience and logic saying to you that you can survive this, whatever, and the outcome will be okay if you just trust in the move or action that needs to be made. Of course, I could be totally off the mark here, but just giving you an idea of how it works. Only you can work out the spiritual meaning message of your dream by taking into consideration all that is going on around you in your real world life right now, as opposed to your dream world. Your thoughts, your fears, your feelings, and so on, and searching for the meaning messages in it. Well, Patty responded, "Wow, you are amazing. How cool is that? I've created an online course, all on my own for a new up-and-coming sugar company. It's a little stress involved there. You nailed it. Amazing you are. I keep reading everything you told me over and over. I'm so fascinated. This is amazing. Also, I have to mention, the whole reputation thing is so spot on, it's almost crazy. I feel like you're reading my mind. I'm terrified of not doing a good job, not just for my reputation, but for the reputation of this new company who is depending on me. I'm terrified." So the logotherapist would also take into consideration why the old beat-up convertible. What could that have represented in Patty's dream? Something old that needs to be dealt with, something that has been dragging out for a long time, and it's now time to deal with it. Only Patty would be able to tell us the answer to that. And so I asked her if she did find an answer to share it with me. And it turned out that when she was much younger, she had longed for a red convertible, but her father bought her something that was of far less worth, and it appears that this caused Patty to see herself as of less worth to her father, and this could have, even many years later, still added to her sense of unworthiness or lack of confidence in setting up her website. So it was just an interesting extra that we could add to her dream interpretation. So what we as logotherapists are aiming at is to help our clients to distance themselves from the more negative aspects of their lives, to be more meaning-orientated. The resources of their noetic dimension are tapped. The divine power of their spirit is aroused, making them aware that they are not identical with their fears, obsessions, inferiority complexes, depressions, and emotional outbursts. They see that they are not helpless victims of their biological, psychological, or sociological fate. Do not have to remain the way they are and can stand in any situation. Viktor Frankl sees the unconscious, not only in a psychological, but also in a spiritual dimension, as a royal road to a much wider land. It can lead to meaning. Dreams may make you aware of repressed drives and traumas that are too painful to face, but dreams may also convey advice from the conscious. A dream interpretation from this perspective can help you to discover what is meaningful. Because the meaning messages in dreams are often hard to understand because of their symbolic nature, it is often easier to elicit ideas from your client using metaphors, fantasies, and imagery. So if you find that you aren't able to help your client to interpret a dream, and maybe they don't even have a dream for you to work on, then using metaphorical stories and images could be another way to elicit ideas from your client for you to work on together. So this is a personal illustration that I did, a little book that I wrote, Metaphorical Story. 2 weeks after I started therapy in 2006, the therapist asked me to go home and write a story on the little girl who lost her way, and I changed it to the little girl who lost herself. She realized that I was unable to verbalize my thoughts and feelings, and realized that through drawing and stories, metaphorical stories, I was able to express myself so much more. And so this was the little book and this that I did, and the pictures that I illustrated and brought to her 2 weeks later. And it was incredible how much we were able to extract from the pictures themselves, not to mention what I'd written, but the pictures were fascinating. So in this first picture, All the Ugly Voices, you can see me running away from all the horrors, just running and running, as with the dream that I had, being swallowed up by the abuser, the standby abusers pointing their fingers and blaming and judging, and it still goes on to this very day. I experience struggles with that because of how I've turned out and my behaviors and struggles at this time. You can see the little ugly men in the background. Those are the ugly voices that are saying, you're no good, you're useless, you'll never amount to anything. And those are the script messages I brought with me from my childhood, still haunting me. I'm lost in the forest, running. And then the next picture, I'm beginning to see that there is a dim light in the distance, that there could be hope of escaping. But the situation I was in was still too deep. And so I wrote there, the uglies tried to persuade her to stay. And there they are saying, stay with us, don't leave us, we want you here. You know you'll be happy here, we'll look after you. And so basically it's the comfort zone of the victim of child abuse, feeling very victimized still, very stuck in my victimhood. And then choosing the dim light and running for her life. In that picture shows how she's trying to find a way out, that she's trying to escape all this horror and believes that there must be something more that she can run towards and that she can go towards. But it's very hard to leave the comfort zone of your victimhood when there's just so many script messages and so much ugliness still holding us down. Don't know, I'm sure I'm not the only one that experiences this. And there, a kind and friendly owl, who represents the therapist for me, and how I'm looking up to her for advice and for guidance. In this picture, you can see that the trees are beginning to lose their power over me, that the uglies are no sort of distance themselves. They're no longer having so much control over me. The trees' limbs are cut. They're no longer as powerful as they were, and the light is becoming brighter in the distance. What is interesting about this picture number 5, when I shared the story with a young client, the first thing he noticed was the man stuck under the stone that I had drawn, stuck under the tree's roots. But it looked very much like a man being suffocated, faceless, voiceless man that has not able to help themselves. They're so stuck by the effects of the abuse that was inflicted on them. And this fascinated him because he felt like he was that person under the rock. He kept going back to that picture, and it just absolutely fascinated him. And was very hard for him to get away from that, what I had drawn there. So it just showed, by sharing with another child abuse sufferer, how they can identify with your story, and it helps them to see where they are stuck, and to maybe also start searching for their own light in the distance. So the last picture, 6A, finishing her journey, they're taking the advice of the therapist that's helped me to come so far, heading towards the light. Everything seems greener and more less frightening, let's put it that way. And there's still obstacles in the way, as I've drawn with the rocks and that. Never intended to draw it that way, but it made it so clear, and so much. Just discussing these pictures was fascinating for both the therapist and I believe. So Frankl maintains that as human beings, we all have a will to meaning. We all want something worthwhile and purposeful to live and work for. We all want to feel needed, called upon to carry responsibility for something or someone. By exercising the unique responsibilities that life has entrusted to us, we feel a sense of moral integrity. Our lives are serving a unique purpose. We have a destined role to play, and in our own way, we are irreplaceable. These are the things that endure our life with meaning, and that we deeply within ourselves want to experience. Logotherapy dream interpretation can be done only on the really vivid dreams that remain pretty much intact when we wake up from them. Dreams that we don't remember when we wake, I believe, have already been absorbed into the 3 levels of consciousness where they have been processed for our benefit. Dreams that we don't remember may have also been buried because they are not ready, because we're not ready for them yet. Or perhaps the spiritual level of consciousness knows we are ready, but our subconscious level denies their message as a result of our fears and denial. Dreams help us to become more meaning-aware and meaning-orientated. The dream's meaning messages become clearer subconsciously, gradually, becoming conscious over time, so that we can act on the messages that we receive. Once the meaning message of a dream has been established through logotherapy dream interpretation, the dreamer will never need to dream that dream again, as I mentioned before. Once you have the message, the dream just seems to disappear. It never repeats again. And if it does come in a similar way, it has a different meaning. It's another area that the dreamer would need to work on. In summary, I'm helping a client to interpret their dreams. I'm going to leave that for you to read over. You can pause the video to read over it. But basically, it's just to reinforce that there are so many details in the dream that the subconscious and the conscious, the unconscious level has taken symbols from your life, films that you've watched, things that you've done, things that you've seen, things that you've read, the news that you've listened to. Symbols from all of these areas could be combined together to make up your dream. And these are the things that, when you saw them, when you heard them, triggered some things, triggered some meaning inside of you, and came together in the form of a dream to help us to find the answer to a struggle. The triggers were only because of the struggle, and the meaning messages are found in the dream. So it's very important to realize that only the client can reveal the answers and meaning messages of their own dreams. And we help our client to see the blessings of their dreams. That's the important thing that we are trying to do. So there we've got, I'll leave you with my contact details if you'd like to know more about logotherapy dream interpretation. And I hope that you will go on to watch part 2, the logotherapeutic interpretation of daydream worlds, especially the daydream worlds of adult survivors of child abuse. So as with the metaphorical pictures and stories and nighttime dreams, daydream worlds also are in a sense a metaphorical land that we invent for ourselves in our daydreams, that we could go into to either uplift ourselves, or there's always a reason, and that will all be explained more in the next video, and I do hope you'll go on to watch it. Thank you so much for sharing with me today, and I hope that you did learn something from this, and thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Bye for now.